Greetings and welcome. Thanks everybody for tuning in to RP MMO Radio. This is our 16th episode. 2 men enter, or 2 women, or 2 dolphins, or 2 midgets.
Stop.
I'm trying to be politically correct. It's just it's gonna
stop. You really are bad at it.
It's gonna take an hour.
Yeah, just stop.
2 midgets that think they're a broom while riding a horse.
2 people. 2 people enter.
No, that sounds weird.
But oh, so much easier.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And I am Ashen Phoenix, and of course, with me is the 2 ladies, one of which you've already heard, Jazz.
Hello.
And Sib.
Hello.
How's everybody doing?
Well, fine, I guess.
Yeah, that's all. I really didn't care to hear it anyway. It was just a nice question.
I know. It's just what
First, I was waiting for the audience to answer.
I'm
kind of sleepy.
Don't think that works. Although I actually have had plans to eventually allow audience call-ins for anybody that listens live. One of these days we're actually going to make it so that you can, if you're in our Discord, that we can actually bring you on as a caller, kind of like a radio show would do. But I've not done that yet because I've not done it yet. But that's one of those things we hope to do sometime in the future if there's anybody that actually wants to kind of jump in here and give in their 2 cents and then get lost, because we don't want you on here the entire time. That would be weird. So this of course is, like I said, 16th episode. We're gonna go over combat roleplay kind of events. We're gonna keep going with our series on events and stuff like that. So if you like what you hear, just give us a subscribe, a like, that kind of thing. If you're listening to us live at twitch.tv/RPMMO we appreciate it. And the more interaction we get, the better our shows are. So the more people that listen live, the better everything will be for those that listen after the fact. And if you're listening after the fact, feel free to listen live sometime if you're able to. I understand not everybody can do it, and that's why you do podcasts. I do lots and lots of podcasts, and I don't listen to very many of them live either. So I'll forgive you. If you are on podcast, though, you can do that.
You will forgive them? Really?
I will forgive you! I am a benevolent and tidy overlord who will rule you with not quite an iron fist, but more of like a sort of a lead nickel combination. Iron's rather expensive. But so Google Play, Stitcher, iTunes, if you look up RPMMO Radio in their search bar, we come up pretty much right away. Even for MMO or our MMORPG stuff, we pop up there. And when it comes to Twitch, it's every other Saturday, 7 p.m. CST, which is Central Standard Time, which is all I'm ever going to call it, even when we do the stupid thing that's coming up called Daylight Savings Time, because we hate it. We all hate it. I thought they were supposed to take care of that sooner or later.
They keep promising, but
right.
It never
happens. For like the last 4 presidents, they promised that. Yeah, we're going to look into it. Oh, we're going to look into it. I don't know where I am right now. I did not have sexual relations with that time zone, you know.
You're so bad.
Yeah, well, at least I was an equal
big
opportunity.
time zone.
Hey, he likes the big ones, so he would do it.
Oh, lousy.
So, now that we've scared off most everybody that was probably listening anyway, what have we been up to in roleplay?
Well, in roleplay, I have been roleplaying more and more openly. Trying to take more time to be there and not just level and stuff. Been going into less zones and trying to be out there to roleplay more. So it's been fun. I've expanded my roleplay horizons a little bit this week, so it was a lot of fun.
Did you meet anybody neat?
I joined the new guild, and
you're cheating on us.
Yes, I am.
You whore. You roleplay whore.
Dude, I swear. Anyway, so my character Cial is an assassin and thief, and she doesn't make much of a secret of the thief part, but of course the assassin part is kind of secret. But she got asked to join a thieves guild.
And the part where she needs a flea collar.
Yes, that too. Although she was given perfume this last week.
I saw that.
Yeah.
Yeah, she called it colon.
Yeah, colon.
The guy said cologne, But she's like, what's colon? I'm like, well, I had a response already. I'm like, crap, I don't think he would actually respond like that. Damn it. I'm sarcastic, but they can't be. So, yeah, that's good.
Colon.
Colon.
It was really funny.
Good.
I love my character. She's hilarious.
Yeah, and by the way, Sib, it's pronounced Seal. You were correct on the third time we were trying to figure out last night how to pronounce your name.
I've heard people pronounce it before, and I still got it wrong. And then I was like, I'm gonna get it.
Well, I'm the same
Things
way.
where it was like, okay, I'm gonna say it correctly before I quit.
I want to call it Sail too, and I know it's the I before E, except after C or something like that is backwards.
It's also I tend to, when I make up two names, I tend
butcher
to
the English language.
Well, yes, actually, because English sucks. I tend to use like Spanish when I'm pronouncing things, so it's C-all instead of Sial, like an American would say it. Sial.
That's not just any American.
That's the down home hick American.
That's right. All right, hold on. I gotta go get my cousin wife in here because she gonna think this is funny as shit. Hey, Larlene, get in here. This gal's funny. Put your tube top back on.
Oh my god. So
it's gonna be one of those episodes. People, buckle up.
Yeah.
I had a nap.
He's raring to go.
And we're looking down the barrel of a 5-day vacation ahead of Sim and I. So,
ooh, nice.
Yeah, you know what we're gonna do?
Stay home.
Not a goddamn thing.
I'm not getting out of my pajamas.
If I was wearing pants, you're lucky.
Yep.
Or unlucky, I guess, depending on how Sib looks at it. Probably lucky. So that's cool, Jazz. I'm glad. Yeah, it's been nice seeing you out there role-playing a little more because you've been burnt and bit in the butt so many times with randos and just people don't like you. I don't know why. An assertive, strong woman that speaks her mind and doesn't put up with bullshit. They don't like that.
No, they don't. It's sad.
I mean, I don't like it either, but I still put up with you. So,
yeah, Mr. Get Me a Sandwich.
Yeah. And I will get that sandwich. I just think it's the distance thing that's really keeping you from doing it. Your womanly instincts will eventually kick in, and you'll drive down here.
You're under some serious denial. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, well, yeah. So, what about you, babe? What you been doing, Sibs?
I've been RPing more like Jazz. I don't know what it is. I've had more time. I don't know, but I met and got invited to a new guild, which I'm excited about. I met them on Volley in my main, but I explained to them she's not the type of character that would join their organization. She's young, hot-headed, and just doesn't take orders very well. So told them I'm going to try to roll up a new character for their group, and I think I've got that character down. I just got to get my character sheet worked out, and I'm looking forward to meeting everybody and just meeting some new faces. You know, they seem like a real solid group.
Yeah.
Always nice.
Yeah, it's always nice to be able to meet new people that, you know, like I love the people we know, but we've known them for so long that, her and I were talking about this ourselves because we're married, and apparently you talk when you're married.
Go fake it.
Well, at least in the unsuccessful relationships, it only ends in tears. But how, you know, even, you know, Jazz, you and I, and, you know, we've been doing it so a lot of our characters have overlap, you know, like even Kenix, he's got a lot of similarities to Xanis because you play what you like, you know.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and with your characters, a lot of them, you know, they're sort of free and loose and strong and all that stuff. It's you know, it's what you know.
Yes.
And it's what you enjoy playing.
It. Yeah,
right.
I enjoy it. It's relaxing because my life is so dictated and controlled. I think that's why I'm drawn to the opposite of that in role plays, because it's more freeing.
To answer your question, Sotha Teleferi in chat, we're talking about ESO is where we kind of role play right now, but the show itself is actually for basically any MMO. We're talking about what we do right now, but eventually what we get to will be just, it applies to all MMOs across the spectrum because they all have their benefits.
Yes.
And also, hello and welcome.
Yes. Hello.
Yes. Hello, welcome.
So
But no,
yeah,
and I've actually RP'd with the guild, our guild, Aluna. Am I pronouncing that one right?
Alanu.
Alanu. I knew I
Alana.
wasn't. I knew I wasn't. I've RP'd with several in the group over the last week and a half, and I've had a lot of fun just really getting back into it. I know we got a couple events coming up and like tomorrow, so I'm
Yep.
looking forward to it. I'm excited to get into the game.
Yes. Yep. And I've well, we Sib and I, we role played our characters that had kind of
Yeah.
got together, and that was a nice awkward after the fact conversation from a one night stand, which doesn't happen with our characters because we don't do that with anybody else. But since we're married, it's pretty much the only thing we do that with is our own characters. But it was fun. They had they're gonna keep it and see where it goes, but it's not like oh, will you go steady with me and meet me at the soda fountain?
Yeah.
It's nothing
It's
like
so
that.
funny because every game we've played, we've always made, except for the very first one, we've always made our characters to be together.
Yeah.
And this game, we made these characters, what, 4 or 5 years ago?
When the game 3 years when it first started.
First started. And then we came back to the game, and we hadn't really had characters that would go together. I mean, you had the Dunmere and I had the Orc, and so it's not been an issue. And then now all of a sudden, out of the blue, it's been fun.
Yeah.
Actually,
And since her orc wouldn't put a Dunmary bag over her head, there just was no way.
Beautiful.
Oh yeah.
I love Volley.
Yeah, nothing says making out like trying to kiss around the tusks.
That's right.
That's sexy though.
What was it? Stefay told me they have a thing in the game that's tusk off.
Tusk off. Yeah, she's been enjoying that one.
Volley's new thing. Tusk off.
Yes. So, well, that's kind of, but yeah, that was fun. Our characters, and we largely started doing it so that we could run around in character while we're doing what we were talking about before, Sib, or Jazz, just the quest. Right now we're going through Cold Harbor, but after that we'll probably take them to do Caldwell Silver stuff. But we'll try to. It's always more fun if you can quest with somebody in character. So that's kind of our ultimate goal. And whatever happens, we got no expectations on them, that they'll end up or anything. And it's been fun.
Yeah.
So, well, we've got a couple news stories. So I know, Jazz, you got one here. So let's see what you got.
Jazzing with Jazzy. Or Jazzy. What was it?
Is Jazzing with Jazz. Yeah.
Jazzing with Jazz.
Yeah.
There we go.
Well, the one thing that I found is just kind of a funny and me being mean-spirited, but I saw that Funcom remade their new logo, and it is a white flag, which I'm used to no end.
I give up.
And it also had there was just a lot of information out there, so on some of the new stuff that's coming up
from Funcom.
And no, just from a whole bunch of MMOs.
Oh, okay.
But the one that one in particular was particularly.
Yeah, that's
yeah, the white
they
flag.
Should give up.
It's like, yeah, that kind of works because you guys suck. Anyway.
They're like the poor kid at the Special Olympics that just can't quite follow the finish line, but they keep trying and you want to cheer them on, but
you just can't.
They just can't make it. It's just your heart goes out to them because they try. They even brought out dong sliders. They brought out dong sliders.
They
try
did
to
their
win
best,
people over,
yeah.
And it didn't work.
And I mean, they've actually been doing really well with Conan, whatever it's called, which
Exiles.
doesn't speak much.
Yeah,
Exiles.
I heard about it that first 2 weeks, and I have yet to hear jack squat about it since.
And supposedly, Secret World is doing really, really good.
Yeah, that one was always probably their flagship on stuff.
But that's because they shot their original Conan in the face and refused to focus on it while they built Secret World.
Mm-hmm.
And part of the reason why I think I didn't want to play Secret World is because I felt like they refused to develop Conan and make it into the game that they should have. because it wasn't the baby of the guy that was hired to the new guy that was hired. His baby was Secret World, and so he basically just ignored Conan.
Well, and now the Secret World's got Johnny Depp supposedly behind it producing a TV show, so
which is just like, what?
Yeah,
the game isn't even that good. I don't understand.
Yeah,
but
it's kind of like the Defiance did that, but they did that in tandem with an MMO and a TV show, and the TV show was actually really good.
I liked it.
It was actually some solid sci-fi, and
you know, it could be a really good show. But the game is just mediocre.
Like to say, the game, the premise of Secret World is great, and I hear the roleplay community, of course, you know, because the premise is good, the roleplay is going to be good, regardless of the clunky mechanics and the gameplay. You know, role-playing isn't too hard when you just basically stand somewhere and type out what you're doing, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
That you can make anything good. You know, there's a reason people roleplay on forums where there are in chat rooms where there's no graphical avatar at all.
Yeah.
You only need an imagination and fingers.
Right, because roleplay flourishes anywhere. You give somebody the premise of lore, you give them an idea of what the world looks like, pictures or drawings, or, you know, base it off of some movie, or like D&D, which is what made D&D so popular. And roleplay will flourish. So, and it's not a shock that there's roleplay communities in just about every MMO, but if I can't play the game, I'm not going to play.
Yeah, it's hard to stick around, yeah. I can't.
Because I can't subsist on roleplay alone, and while I won't play a game if I can't roleplay there, which is kind of weird, you know, because I can't play a game if I can't roleplay, and I can go roleplay without being able to play the game for a while, but eventually, like with EQ2...
But eventually you need to have something to do while you're waiting for roleplay to start, other than outside sources of like, hey, is anybody doing anything? No, we're all waiting for someone else to get logged in. You know, and at that point, when no one logs in to play the game to see if roleplay is going, you're closing down your guild hall.
Yep, and that's what happened with EQ, is that the environment got so stifled and so shallow water that the toxicity of the roleplay community ended up closing down.
Yeah, not to mention their expansions were just reskin zones.
They were awful. And I think I could have stayed if the expansions had been worth something, because I did enjoy the game in and of itself. But now that I played ESO...
Yeah, it's hard to go back.
I don't know if I could ever go back to a game like that. Yeah. I have to be able to enjoy the game in order to roleplay. It's just somewhat of who I am. It's not... I mean... If I didn't care about that, we wouldn't be RP MMO. We'd just be RP. Because,
right, we would be doing this based on Harry Potter or D&D or whatever else, and doing it in chat and stuff like that.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's not enough. It's not enough for me to do it that way. And
no, I understand.
That's why this is just so fabulous.
And completely unrelated, because I have to mention this, how 2, maybe 3 weeks into college, and our daughter this week did her first round of Dungeons and Dragons.
Woohoo!
It took all of 2 weeks, and she has 2 rule books now for D&D. She is our daughter.
Yes, definitely.
So, but yeah, I'm proud of her. She made a druid, half elf. So I asked.
Awesome.
So what you got, not Jazz, Sib? What you had? You have something that you just kind of bumped into.
Yeah, mine's not really a news story. It's more like a shout out to a book series. Yeah. It's a trilogy. It's called The Other Life Dreams. Well, that's the first book. Sorry.
It's Other Life series.
I'll just give up. But yeah, it's the Selfless Hero trilogy, and it's basically set in an MMO world, and I bumped into it by accident because you had got me reading, or I do a lot of audiobooks because where I work, it's easier. If I had more time, I would read more. But you started me on, what did I just said it? A Supercell and Superheroes.
Yep, by William D. Ariand.
Yeah, and at first I was like, I'm not going to like this book. I loved it. So I started looking into what else he had. And I bumped into this series, and I'm actually in book 2, and it's just a fun series if you're an RP or an MMOer. I mean, it's just you would love it.
If you enjoy things like Dot Hack or Sword Art Online, or I forget the Login Horizon, I think is another anime based on being stuck in an MMO or playing an MMO.
Yeah,
yeah.
It's just a lot of fun, and I'm not going to say anything about it because I don't want. I'm a spoiler, so if I even start going into it, it'll be like, beep beep, stop, stop. But no, I recommend it, and actually a lot of other people liked it because it has over a 4-star rating on Audible, and like I'm looking at Amazon right now because I pulled it up so I make sure I get the title and author right. But it's got over a 4-star rating. But yeah, I recommend it.
Yeah.
It's fun, and I'm hoping he goes on with the Supercell and Superheroes and makes another book because that one was real enjoyable too.
Yes.
So just check it out. It's definitely a nerd thing.
Yeah, nope, that sounds good. Yeah, I'm looking forward. I'm listening to it right now. I've never read or listened to it, the Stephen King book, but with the 44 hours of an audiobook like that one, so it's taken me a while to get through it. Apparently it was a big book.
Yeah, he's slow.
Yeah. I'm a slow reader on an audiobook.
That's right, man.
Yeah.
I blasted through it in like 3 days. I love it.
So mine as well is not so much a story, but I had put up on the ESO community roleplay forums just like what other people, since we're doing probably our next episode will also be on events and how to run them. It will be more on like storytelling aspects, like the D&D version. Today like I'd said, we're gonna do on combos, combo breaker, combat and dueling and tournaments and things like that, and also how to do some roleplay and that stuff. So I'd ask what other people did. One guy, Darzinski, he actually kind of the first thing he almost it was like an out of character thing, but he spoke to it like he was his Khajiit character, which was kind of funny. But he actually had good ideas. One good point he brought up too is when doing events, you have to take away certain things like fast travel stuff, because there's a lot of really fun events you can do like while just traveling the road, like delivering packages, shipping merchandise, distant markets, petitioning authorities, fleeing oppression, or just merely going out for fresh air, things like that. It is easy to get stuck with the, like in ESO is fast. Almost all of them these days have fast travel of some kind. It's the staple of kind of our modern age, and people are impatient, and the days of EverQuest 1 with a 10-minute wait to get on the boat and another 15-minute boat ride to go from Kunark to Freeport, people don't have the time or patience to do something like that anymore. It's just not possible. However, when you're role-playing, doing something like that, even if you have to kind of fudge and make it happen on your own, can be fun, especially if you do it in an event and things like that. So I actually like that suggestion. That was a pretty good one. And another guy that was going, they were both going back and forth. Fure, Fyurae, Fire. Yeah. But he's also kind of a fan of open-ended RP events, which I am too. Actually, I always like to have an idea in mind for them, but never know exactly how it might end. Have a, like, if it's going to be a reoccurring villain, definitely have several ways that he can be injured and still probably get away, and unless you just get totally sideswiped by somebody, and well, your event might end a little early. It's kind of like Dungeons & Dragons. You just kind of have to roll with it. If somebody either rolls or they have a really great imaginative way of doing something, kind of just roll with it. Yeah, exactly. But having open-ended stuff where I've never, like Jazz in Civ, I don't enjoy like you're a pawn in a story and that kind of thing. It's there's no point in you being there. You may as well just literally write the story.
Yeah, it's like if somebody says you're welcome to participate, but this is what I want you to do, and I don't care how you do it, but this is how I want you to do it, and that to me is still very scripted. And if they know what I'm going to do, why do they even need me there? They can just say NPC 3 does XYZ, and everything that you just did could have been handled with an NPC. So I don't necessarily like that. I don't mind if they say, this is what's going on. Your character could give this or this, come in and roll and decide what happens.
Yeah.
That's fine with me.
Mhm.
But
It's a
if they
little
have
better,
a
yeah.
set outcome and they're like, this is the only thing that your character can do in the long run, it's like, nah, get an NPC. You don't need me.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
like like having it's like anything having we call it scripted events. To me, really, I guess I would prefer more the outline, like the branching outline of events. Like I have an idea, you do it, and depending on how the interactions go, that'll shape it up. And scripted ones, that's actually I don't know. I know they basically mean the same, but really scripted always sounds more exactly like what you mean, Jazz, where it's scripted from start to finish, whereas I know that's not always what it means, but it sounds like that. It just sounds negative to me.
A lot of people will tell you that it's not scripted when it is. And
yeah.
See, like, if somebody says, I want this to kind of happen, your character is like this, so when they show up, this is what's going to be said, this is what's going to be done by other people. Yeah, you need to do
this, and this.
If I can roll dice and I can decide which one my character is going to do, then I'm okay with it. You give me a set of things that might happen. Yeah. I'm okay with that. But if you just say it's one thing, then I can't roll. I can't play my character the way that she would be played.
You're just an army soldier in the hand of a big kid. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just actor one on side reading from the script, and that's just not.
Yeah. But no, they had a lot of good back and forth. Those were the two big things. Of course, they brought up phrasing, or not phrasing, phrasing. Yeah.
Okay. Like
Archer
says to y'all all the time.
Yeah,
phrasing.
Like I said to you last night when you said, I like being wet.
Yeah.
Phrasing.
He's like, cough, phrasing. She's like,
but
what?
Phasing was in a lot of things. ESO is, in a lot of ways, it still can kind of be bad about it, especially with the quests and stuff like that. Sib and I ran into that because I had done 2 quests in Cold Harbor, and as soon as we entered there, I was going to help her get it through it, and as soon as we entered, we each disappeared to the other.
Yeah,
and
I hate that. That's the only thing about this game that I don't like.
And if we're role playing, that pretty much put a end to that real quick.
Yep.
And I know in our Servants Guild, that's one thing we run into pretty often right now, actually, because almost every time we do anybody does a role play event in Vardenfell in the Morrowind expansion, a lot of people have finished it somewhere, but maybe not on one character probably, but maybe not on the character they're currently in. And of course, everyone tries to go into one place, and only half of us can get into it. And it's we actually had that happen. A person named Evul was running one the other night, and when she checked it all out, of course on her end everything worked just fine, but we weren't aware, of course, that she'd done all of the zones. So as soon as she went in, it was fine, but the people that hadn't couldn't get in. No fault of hers. There's just, you can't know this stuff. If it works on your screen, you're not going to think, or even realize the quest you did 2 months ago is going to be the reason that other people can't get in. It's a pain in the butt, but luckily we're here to use our imagination, so we imagined our way out of it.
Yep.
Imagination.
Yeah, and Sotha Telefairy in the chat says crashing's more of an issue now than phasing nowadays anyway, and some areas just make too many people crash too often, and that's true, and it's a really weird thing that happens for some reason, and a lot of
every
MMO. Yeah,
it's an MMO thing. I swear, they just they lay in new coding.
Technology gets better, and somehow they don't improve. Yeah,
yeah, they lay in the coding, and the game goes.
Yeah, copy paste. Yeah,
and something gets screwed up, and it takes them a while to find out where that comma got put or whatever.
Yeah, or you pasted twice. Oh, and thank you for the ad, whoever that was. I'm sorry I missed it. That's what that giant boom was for those that just heard that on the podcast. So, since we got through that, we got a word from our sponsor, and then we'll go ahead and slap around our main topic and get into some combat fun. So, let's see who we've got today. Come on out to the Cyrodiil Arena Convention Expo Center this Sunday for what some people are saying is the biggest, baddest, brawliest fight to ever take place in Tamriel. That's right, brother. This Sunday, the WWFG World Wrestling Fighters Guild will challenge them namby-pamby little princesses, the WWMG Worldwide Mages Guild, in a no-holds-barred to find out who reigns supreme as the ultimate guild. A bunch of finger-waggling little bookworms in robes, or large, burly men with hairy chests, arms like tree trunks, and large, shiny swords. So smooth. A spectacle you won't see anywhere else in this one-time event. Come watch as mages throw ice cubes at the Fighters Guild. It will come down upon them, rain down destruction upon their pointy-hatted heads. We'll also have balloons for the kiddies. So come on down this Sunday to the Cyrodiil Arena Convention Center Expo. Be there or be square, brother. Oh, yeah! I'm gonna take a drink of water.
I am really glad I had myself muted.
Yeah, I think it's really sweet that they have balloons for the kiddies.
Yeah, it's really sweet. Very, very sweet, yes.
Province of Cereal. Yeah, I might stumble over things a couple. Thanks for pointing that out. Power the Wizard? Power Hat the Wizard? Fuck you.
Oh my gosh. Dude.
Yeah, I know. I stumbled on cereal. You know what? Cyrodiil the cereal. If Nintendo can have its own cereal, so can Cyrodiil. I'll say that 5 times
like
fast.
A tongue twister.
All right. Also, thank you for joining us, Power Hat the Wizard. I don't know why you would, but we appreciate it. So, what kind of combat RP events are there? We're going to go into that stuff now. So there's, good old-fashioned sparring training events. Guilds often do them. In fact, I think we were just talking before the show that we are hoping to do one once a month in our guild.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Mm-hmm. We were just discussing
I don't know why I didn't even think of that. You would think with all this stuff that we talk about all the time, we would think of these things. But no, we think of them for other people. Basically everyone on those, they just gather around, take turns fighting either with, I'm going to call it /duel, but basically mechanics. It's the in-game mechanics. Either you select to duel somebody and then you beat the crap out of each other with mechanical things, or there is through RP typing, and which you could either do with Freeform or dice rolls. And of course Freeform is basically it's somebody you trust and you go back and forth, and you don't really have a way other than just the honor system. If someone throws a punch or does a really cool move and you decide that would probably have hit you because it's really neat, you let it hit you, as opposed to dice rolls, which you use, and that will determine if something hits or you block it. I like the Freeform. I like the dice rolls. I'm not too picky. I also like mechanical duels. So that's for our Jazz's Guild Alanu, that we're planning on doing that. Not in the servants. I know it gets confusing in ESO because you can have somewhere around the neighborhood of 50 different guilds to join. It feels like. Okay, it's only 5, but really when you're role-playing guilds, it's. Most people that don't roleplay, all their guilds are like one guild of friends and then 4 others of
crafting
or merchant.
Yeah.
But when you're roleplaying, a lot of crossover. Mm-hmm. So there's also larger tournaments, which is pretty much exactly what it sounds like. Larger tournaments where. With the sparring, it's just one-on-one. Like, every time we would do those, everyone would gather around and be like, I challenge so-and-so to, you want to get, go at it. It's casual, it's friendly, it's, kind of like the game version of a pickup baseball game, where you're picking sides, except you're picking who to beat the shit out of. which doesn't happen so much in real life because apparently people don't like when kids beat each other. Who knew? Apparently that's a thing. Oh, the schools get all offended. Just let them beat the crap out of each other. That's how we did it. Turns you into a man, or gives you horrible psychological problems for the rest of your life, and
Wear a black
you
eye.
can never trust anybody ever again. Eventually, you turn to roleplay to escape from those memories and do a podcast.
Were you beat up?
What? No, I was talking about another fat kid.
Now I know you.
I was.
Yeah, I actually was. I'm a fat kid now. I was a really skinny kid in school. I was a scarecrow.
He was.
I graduated at 110 pounds. I was pretty. Her love is fattening. That was about 120 pounds ago.
What? That's what he tells
Good
everybody.
cooks.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Good cooks. What can you say?
So,
I was gonna say I didn't hear him complaining when I made that BLT with homemade
God,
bread
that was
yesterday.
So good. Homemade bread, homemade BLT. Oh man. Sorry, I
Everybody needs to go
totally
get a
got
BLT
lost
now.
there. Anyway, so large tournaments. These are, winners move on, and sometimes they'll do like a losers bracket. I know Jazz. We've seen it sometimes when they do that in it. I think you'll probably agree. Really, the winner moves on and losers take a hike thing seems to work best because when you do the losers bracket, people when they lose, they don't often stick around for the losers bracket, and
Yeah,
then on
totally.
top of that, it draws it out really long because even with dice and stuff, the role play fighting, it can take some time. It's not a quick thing. One fight can take 20 minutes to a half an hour on just a 3-hit, like 3 hits wins, especially depending on what mechanic system you're using for that, because even with the dice rolls, there's more than one version of that, which we will get into shortly. But basically, I would say if you're ever going to do a tournament, I'm going to bring them up here soon, but the Grindstone is a big event that happens once a week in Final Fantasy XIV. Run by the Link Shell, confusingly named Grindstone. Yeah. But they do massive bracketed tournament, and they could have anywhere from like 60 to 70 people, often sometimes less, sometimes up to that many, and that's a lot of role players in a single thing, in any event, let alone one in combat where they're actually typing things out and doing dice rolls to see who hits and who misses. So it can take a long time. So they do it just on a winner's bracket. If you win, you move up to the next tier. If you lose, you get to take a seat on the lawn and watch the rest of them fight, which can be pretty fun because there's a lot of creative people, and of course, the first time I did that, I got put up against the edgelord, who was so cool he didn't have to use his sword. Unfortunately for him, my little level 15 ninja won all the rolls and knocked him on his ass. So it didn't do him too good to try to be so great that he didn't need his sword, because it ended up making him look stupid. So if you're going to go to these things, don't be like that, because you're going to find out soon what a giant jackass you look like. I will be playing the role of the jackass.
Always.
But yeah, the Grindstone is a great example of large-scale tournaments. I know we had several of them in EQ. I don't know personally of any that are like a bracketed, like an ultimate winner thing in ESO at the moment. And I'm not saying that there isn't one, just that I'm not aware of it. There very well probably is. I just there's just so many damn people in the role-playing communities. They're so big that I just haven't bumped into it yet.
I don't remember there being any in or the Old Republic.
Yeah, get a
But
little
I
closer,
remember-
babe.
Oh, sorry. I don't remember there being any in the Old Republic, but I remember our guild we were with would have where we'd gather around.
Yeah, we have
Would
the
you
combat
guys-
duels. Yeah, the problem with the Old Republic was the separation of Sith and Jedi, dividing
Yeah.
the community made things really difficult for such a thing to happen. Sith would probably do that, but they're Sith, and the Jedi probably wouldn't do that, even though they would be able to, do that. That's not the Jedi way to compete like that. And the Sith would just try to kill each other.
I couldn't remember any in that one.
Yeah. But even that, a lot of it was, there's not always tournaments. It takes a lot to put together a tournament. You really, really, like with the grindstone I was talking about, it's not just one dude doing that. With that many people, they actually separate people off to 3 or 4 different groups of 8 to 10 people will go off into 4 different areas, or depending on however many they need. And then they'll tear off against there, and then the 2 people that win there will fight against each other until you get to the last 2 people. And it can take 2 or 3, 4 hours, depending on how many people show up and just how the rolls go. But it's just one of those things you just kind of have to wait and see. And there's of course then there's always just the random fighting that might happen in events like the tavern events we were talking about last time, especially if it's a brawling one or bar fights are allowed. Bar fights, those bisexual bar fights. That's what it is. I have no idea. Though that's not specifically like a combat event so much as it's just shit that happens when people get together drunk. Kind of like in real life. So let's see. Yeah, and what Sotha in chat said, that they had some success with loser brackets whenever the fights are shortish and you run the first round in multiples. You can do that quick with certain, like I said, with certain ways depending on how you do the dice. The one I was talking about, which we'll get into the mechanics of it sort of here shortly, was the kind where when one person rolls high, one person attacks, one person defends. If whoever rolls high either hits or defends. So you can go literally 4 or 5 rounds depending on how the dice go with nobody landing a friggin' blow, and those take forever when it happens like that. It doesn't happen often, but it really can slow things up because then you've got a dozen people waiting on one fight. Depending on how many are there. But if there's not a lot of people there, loser brackets are a thing. But a lot of these things come down to having several people. Like if a guild is doing it, having multiple people there to help. You gotta have help, especially with sparring events. You got one person there, and you could have 2 or 3 people in groups fighting at the same time. I know in Servants we've done that when we do our Ordinator training. We've broke off into 2 groups of, like one-on-one. It was like 4 or 5 groups of people. And it went fairly smoothly, because that's really not a ton of people. It is a lot of people for some, but compared to giant bracketed tournaments, it's really not that bad. And the way they did that really wasn't so bad, since ESO has a problem with not allowing people to do dice rolls. A lot of times we'll just do a D20, and in that version, whoever got the high roll is the one that got the hit, and whoever didn't just got deflected the other thing. So it worked out pretty quickly.
But your comment on having people to help, that kind of goes with all of this whole set of shows. It's always nice to have somebody you can trust be there to help you run, or take, if there's a problem, you can take care of it and let them take over running it. It's just nice to have help.
Yeah, especially anything you run with the guild. If it's a guild event, your guild should be there backing each other up for the most part. I know even when, like right now in our one guild, Alanu, we've got somebody. Is it Hides in Caves?
No, hates all caves.
Hates all caves. I knew it was something like they didn't like caves.
No, he hates all caves.
Hates all caves is they're doing a little RP event thing that they started last night, and they're gonna start do it again tomorrow. And it's individual members of your guild, of course, can have ideas even in combat and things like that. But more often than not, if they need help or if they need an extra pair of hands to do something, especially when it comes to events like that you open up beyond your own guild, your guild is typically going to be there to help you and lend a hand, unless you're in a shitty guild, in which case bounce. just bounce off of that.
Yeah,
Serious.
I've never been in done an event or anything that the guild has not stepped up and helped in
Yeah.
some way. I mean, they've, especially the guilds that I've been in with you two, it's always like, I mean, Jazz would come in, you need a bartender, you need something, you know, what do you need? Let me know. Or you'd come in and be like, what do you need? Where do you need me to go? So
Yep.
it's nice when your guild is there to step up for you.
Yeah.
And it
they got
helps
your back.
a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, on, because if you try to do it all yourself, or you're absolutely determined that you have to do it all yourself, the event itself will suffer. It's just, unless there's like 3 people showing up for the event, it's going to be stressful, and who wants to have that kind of stress all
and
the
it's
time?
also a wall of text that you have to do, which having multiple people to help catch, or even, you know, like point out to you if you've missed something, if it's directed at you, or just help keep things running smoothly. Like Sotha again in the chat was saying, intercepting those rare, they're not that rare. People that don't realize you're busy as hell. They said, heck, I'm going to say hell because you're literally busy as hell running a fight and keep on insisting on RPing you with your character during the event. Yeah, having somebody intercept that and like take that off of you, that is very helpful, because that's one of the reasons when I do stuff, when I do like the story events, which we'll get into next time, I prefer my character actually not be there. That way I can concentrate fully on the DMing.
Kind of a rule of thumb.
Yeah, DMing, and if I've got a villain there, that I'll play the villain as an actual character, or my own character, just ignore the thing and put on, you know, if I can change the clothes up and put on a hood, that kind of thing. It makes things a lot easier, especially, but with tournaments, a lot of times you have to be there, but a lot of people just don't realize how much you're already doing, especially behind the scenes in tells, or if you've got a group. A lot of times the people running the show will have a group together, so you're looking at guild chat, you're looking at spatial chat and emotes and group chat, and trying to keep all that straight, and tells, because you're always going to get tells.
Always. Can I have your attention, please?
No!
Are you there? You're mad at me? Why don't you talk to me?
Yes, I am. And
I'm
no,
just
I don't.
Busy. I
hate you all. Why am I doing this? Kind of a technical glitch, so we're actually doing the last half of the show on the second day, so anybody listening to it on our podcast, if it sounds a little disjointed, that's going to be why, because it is absolutely disjointed. We had people complaining, as you probably heard, or actually you won't hear because I'm going to edit it out, about the stream starting to stutter, and I thought it was just a connection issue. Turns out OBS and everything we were recording through was the reason it was stuttering, and it was just transmitting that. And
it was bad.
It was really bad. It was like listening to someone talk through a helicopter. So that was pretty awful. Actually, you know what? I should probably make sure that this is working now. And it is. Okay. Looks like everything's all right. Hopefully, if anybody in chat, if it sounds awful, I see there's 2 people there at least. Appreciate you coming in. I know it's last minute and it's a little weird, but let me know if it starts stuttering, because then there's something else going on and I don't know what it is. But if I remember right, we had just kind of gone over doing stuff in guilds and having your guildies help you. So the next part is using combat when it's in story-based, you know, and storytelling, and like Dungeons and Dragons DMing, sort of that sort of version of combat, where it's not necessarily you versus another person, as we've kind of been talking about, but you versus, say, NPCs and things like that, that somebody is making up in a story. Often, you know, it's like I said, it's a DM thing, you know, so you'd be fighting wizards or guards or something like that, and in something like this, you basically use the dice system. The freeform system on this one doesn't work so great, because, you know, people might get it, just kind of like in D&D, if somebody's, you know, not using their dice, they can call shenanigans, or, you know, things like that. At least with the dice, you've got a chance of coming out and everything being fair, because it's just random chance. So, you know, but with that, you know, we're going to actually go into story-based events next time, in 2 weeks from now. but we're gonna hit on this since it hits on combat. So in this, if you guys are entering a room or a dungeon or I don't know outside in a forest or a field. I don't know, outside places. I don't know. I've not been there in forever. It's outside. Who the fuck wants to go outside? Seriously. Have you seen modern technology? It's fantastic. You don't have to do that anymore. But if for some reason you were, you just describe, where the guys are. Typically, if you have a bad guy, and you kind of assign hit points, like how many people, need to land a hit before they die. If it's a bad guy, like a big boss or a necromancer, we'll just go with that because necromancers are easy. You probably give them a couple more hits so that especially since it'll be like one guy versus however many people you have in your thing. And on those, typically, like we were saying before, like the 10 and up would be a hit, 9 and below describes how horribly you either missed or that they whipped your butt in return. So with that, we're going to go into kind of what we have is kind of the 4 basic ways in which you actually can do the duels. And of course, the first one is what we had talked about earlier, the mechanical duels. By mechanical, I mean using the mechanics of the game, like through the slash duel or selecting and then beating the shit out of each other with the skills that you have. Whatever, if you're a druid, then you're throwing, I guess you're throwing your own poop at people because, really, druids are basically worthless.
No, they are not.
Oh, no, they're absolutely worthless. They're great healers over time. Yeah, after you're dead. So, pardon me. So when you do the mechanical duels, you do that, whatever it is that caused it, you beat the crap out of each other. And then, of course, if you lose the fight, what you're supposed to do is call foul, get really upset, and then tell them that it was because of lag, or if that doesn't work and they are like, oh, okay, well, yeah, we all had a lag spike, let's go ahead and do that. And then you lose again, you say that they're cheating, and you tell them that it needs... Okay, so you tell them that they're cheating and that it doesn't count because they don't know who you are and that they should have probably thrown the fight. See, that's how that works.
I need like a buzzer. No.
Yeah, we really do.
Me and Jazz need buzzers.
Yes.
Or a gong.
That's funny.
Let's do a gong show.
It's funny because when you talk, all I hear is a buzzing.
Oh, you're bad.
Yeah, you know it, baby. So when you lose the duel, like I said, you got to throw a fit. And if they don't capitulate, you have to rage quit so that they know that it didn't happen because you're not there to take the consequences after you've lost.
Mm-hmm.
See, clearly, who are you going to believe? The ones that are just so negative all the time, or me? They're clearly...
Not you.
Everything out of their mouth is no. It's...
Yes.
We
get lots of practice as a mom.
You know what horrible people say? No means yes.
No.
See? She means yes. So,
no.
But yes, okay, so maybe they might have a slight point that if you lose your duel, don't be a big prissy baby about it. Yeah,
that's another way to...
What, prissy baby? So yeah, you don't want to be like that. It's and if you're gonna go into a fight and like one class is better at whipping the other class's ass, maybe don't pick that fight if that other class is known for whipping your butt.
Like a healer.
Yeah.
I don't like duels for the fact that I usually play healers and I always get my butt because I can keep myself alive, but eventually they're gonna kick my. And
for the sake of the sanity of the people around me, if it's 2 healers picking a fight, don't, because nothing happens. It's an hour and a half of watching 2 people spit at each other and then heal it. It's the
that's very
worst fight I have ever watched is between healers. They literally end up going nowhere, and then they're too stubborn to be like, no, I almost got him that time. He got to 95%. Yeah, you still have the other 95 to go, though, jackass. So the mechanical duels, that's usually the first kind. The second type is one version is another of the typed out roleplay duels using dice rolls, or if the game's got it, usually we say dice rolls, even though it's an old D&D hangover. It really is like a /random or /roll. It's mechanical. Usually a lot of games do it like 1 through 100. EQ2 did that. Star Wars had it. Lord of the Rings has it. WoW has it. Pretty much everyone but ESO has it.
Yeah.
All these 15-year-old games have it, but not the one that's only 3 years old. That's a little strange. Final Fantasy 14 has it. So, yeah. But, so if you don't have it in a game like ESO, typically people will use like a 20-sided dice. If they have the real thing, they'll use that. I use a phone app because, I mean, it's about as random as rolling a dice, you know. And a lot of them, it's like with most things, the high number wins, because if you're doing it the low number wins, you're probably in Australia and your dice are upside down.
What?
Well, it's because they're upside down from us.
No.
So they down in Australia, they always do low number wins because they're so much lower than we are. That's why they're south. Southern hemisphere.
There's my
So one of the ways to do it too is the I call it the back and forth. It's the attack and defend. So usually you'll roll, I guess initiative would be a good way of whoever does that. That's the first attacker, so they get first chance to hit the other person. So that person will emote what they're going to do. They'll both then roll, and if the attacker gets the high number, the other guy has to then emote how he got hit. And if he gets the low number, the defender gets to roll how he blocked the attack. And then that person becomes the attacker. It's pretty basic, pretty simple. Those fights can, however, depending on how the rolls go, they can go a long time if it's nothing but people bouncing back and forth each other on defense rolls. If that defense guy keeps winning, it goes forever and ever. Another way to...
you have to set up, even if you're doing just normal rolls, you really have to set up a control or a... the first person to 5 points wins or whatever.
Yeah, typically everyone does a 3-point thing, but even I've seen them too. I've seen one take over an hour just to get the 3 hits because whoever was defending kept winning. They kept basically. I mean, it was, and then one person would get the hit, and then they would go back and forth to defense, and then that other. I mean, it was like down to the last guy. You know, they had the 2 points hit each. Somebody needed the last one, and then they just kept defending again over and over, just the way the rolls went, and it just took forever. Even they were getting like, okay, this is getting ridiculous. But 3 points is typically where most people go with. Another way that those can take a while is some people will they'll emote their attack, then the guy will emote his defense, and then the defense guy now on the attack will then emote his attack. So he's doing, it's like 2 paragraphs per. Really, probably the faster and often better way to do that is whoever attacks, the defender guy will either say that he got hit or how he deflected the attack, and then immediately in that very same post then say, and then attacks right back with, or he'll take the hit on the shield and swings to the right and aims for the leg, or takes a nick in the arm and uses the momentum from the spin and the hit to whirl around and drops low and tries to kick out the legs from underneath them or something like that. So it's basically 1 paragraph back and forth, and then you instantly roll right after that. That really is the best and probably fastest way. It can be a little confusing sometimes to brand new role players that aren't exactly used to doing that, or if they're slow typers and they're getting super nervous. But, just be patient and encourage them. I mean, you're there for a roleplay duel. It's not going to be over in, a minute and a half. They usually typically take I don't know what you think about if it even with fast typers they can take 10 or 15 minutes, with a 3-point thing.
Yeah.
So
and don't be scared to say, "Hey, I'm a slow typer. Just give me a minute."
Never worry about this, especially if it's new people.
Are really entertaining.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, most of them are, and if they're not, it's because I don't know, maybe they've had a bad day or their wife just left them, and their goldfish died, and so did their cat because it choked on the goldfish, and then the cat died because it was being chased by the dog and ran into the street. It was awful. It was a really bad day. I'm just saying. Completely unrelated to anything in my life.
Yeah.
Choked on the goldfish. So, and of course, while you're doing that, after everything's roll, if you are, of course, like you're me, and you've written that your character really is unbeatable in battle, and the dice roll aren't with you, you pretend like nothing happened afterwards. Like, even if you took a lot of hits, you don't act like you actually got hit at all.
No.
You just shake it off, and you're like, "Ha, I let you win."
No.
Yeah, see, that's how you get away with that, because you're like, you didn't do bad. I let you win. Ha ha. Try better next time, kid. And then you tip your fedora and scratch your neck beard. And then your trench coat flaps behind you in the wind dramatically. What? I'm just saying, that's how it's supposed to go.
No.
See, it's just so damn negative all the time.
That's why you have us here.
So this is what I have to put up with. I don't know why. What, two women on the same show? I don't know what I was thinking. It's just a bad idea. Just a bad idea. So the third way, after of course I have tipped my fedora, is for the typed role play duels, is the trust and understanding, basically the freeform. You go into it, you either probably know the person, someone close to you, you just you may not have an idea of who is going to win. You just kind of just roll with the punches, literally.
Yeah.
If somebody does something cool that, like, you're like, okay, that was a really good hit, that one's gonna spin me around, or this or that. The one I had most recently was against a high ordinator Rogera on my character Tarvala, who was at the time a recruit. She's now full ordinator, of course. But we had eaten, he had drunk, and he's like, "Who wants to fight?" And she's like, jumped up, and she's like, "Yeah, I'll do it." And I knew going in, because he had been a high ordinator for so long. He was a high ordinator of war, no less, and she's just a raw recruit. So I knew going in, I had already decided I'm not going to win this, but I'm going to give it, she's going to give it her all. And I didn't even discuss it with him. He's just like, "Yeah, we'll just see how it goes," but I had already decided basically for him. And of course he didn't disappoint, but through that, we actually, she earned some respect, because he had gone in for like a kick to her side, and while his kick landed, she then grabbed his leg and hunkered down and heaved with all her might and tried, and flipped him out on his ass. And afterwards he's like, "Nobody's ever thrown me before like that." That is, so she earned a good bit of respect from him.
Yeah.
And even though as soon as he hopped up from being thrown, he then wailed on her. It's like, "Oh, I gotta take this a little more seriously. Apparently she's just gonna toss me around if I don't." And but it was a lot of fun too. Even though I knew going in I had planned on losing, winning always doesn't have to be the end goal. You can actually have a lot of really good role play. Actually, often, I would say you almost have even better role play sometimes when you're on the losing end, because it gives you more to bounce off of. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah. Totally.
Kind of like learning from your mistakes in real life.
Yeah. Well, that's true. I think with a lot of role play, sometimes it's the times when you don't have success at something that you actually have more fun and learn more about everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Both about the character and about, their limits, or how they're going to handle disappointment and things like that.
Yeah, like What's
like
up,
the dog
Cujo?
in the background.
What's up, Cujo? Oh, there he is. There he is. But yeah, and of course you can get injuries, and injury role plays, it can get a little old if you do it all the time, but if there's an actual reason, especially in a fight, maybe you gimped your arm, or to give you something to talk about, and you give you a reason to retell the story later for whatever it was you were attacking or being attacked for. And whereas you win, you won, and you basically move on. Maybe you took a hit or two, but you tend to come out okay if you're on the winning side of a roleplay duel.
Yeah, it doesn't. I don't think you learn as much, and sometimes it's not as fun, particularly if you're just like, "Rawr, I'm the best," and you don't get to experience. Oh, that guy actually turned out to be really good, or he got in a lucky swipe.
Yeah.
There's a great deal that your character can learn from that, both in real life and not real life. So it's kind of fun.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just one of those things that not everything can be a win. If you win all the time, it really, especially in roleplay, your character is never going to grow. He's never. If you are the edgelord I was pretending to be, they're basically that character ends up being exactly that character from the day you created him to the day you stop. It's almost there's no fun in a character that doesn't grow. And growl. I'm gonna growl. Yeah. I had a beautiful dwarven last name Grohl. She had a nice tight beard you could just grab onto right in the heat of passion. Hey,
images.
Dwarven chicks have beards. I can't help that. I don't make that lore. I just make fun of it. But it's just, yeah, you can't have. Everyone wants to be a winner too, and of course you want to be. A lot of people do like being, Neo or the strong one, and you have to be, you can be. Your hero is typically a cut and above the merchants that you're selling to stuff all the time, but you can't be flawless. You have to have flaws, and in a lot of time in combat stuff, the flaws, that's a perfect area for them both to come out, or and give your character, like if you actually have a special ability or something special about your character, it might be a good place for it to even shine, because within reason, you don't want to be like, and then I destroy the power because I'm Goku. It doesn't work like that. But it's always good, if there's a good combat fight, especially in as we'll get into later with the storytelling combat stuff. That's definitely, because you're fighting against NPCs, that's definitely a place for characters to shine and show off what they can really, really do, or if they've got some hidden talent that, you've always had in the background, but you've never perhaps gotten a reason to pull out. Combat's often where that stuff happens. I mean, if you watch anime, you know that happens a lot. And it's not too much different in a lot of combat roleplay either. Excuse me. And the fourth kind that we have on here is the combat RP, of course, that uses dice, like we do with like I've learned to do with the servants when we do with large gatherings, and I've done with Alanu when we talked about when we did that one event with the mage and seeking things out, where you have a 20-sided dice and you describe where everything's at, and you decide how the rolls go determines exactly how the NPCs and you versus each other. And that's kind of a newer. It's a new take on an old thing, basically. And with that, you, like I said earlier, you set up where everything is. You set up what's going on. You set the scene just like you're a DM in a Dungeons and Dragons game.
Yeah.
And then the easiest way to do it is have everybody type out what they're gonna do in alphabetical order. That way, you don't have overlap. It doesn't get too confusing. It makes it easier for you as the DM to okay, A, B, C, go down the list and make sure you don't miss anything or miss anybody, because it happens. It's going to happen even with that, but it does definitely help cut down on it. And sorry, I keep having to clear my throat, and I don't know why.
Drink water.
I should drink water. That's why. You know why I didn't have any alcohol like I usually do when we're first doing it. Yeah, sorry. No screwdrivers tonight. It's still earlier than usual, although it's after 5 o'clock, so might have to pause this. Nah, we're almost done. Anyway, but yeah, it's definitely easier to follow, and this is definitely the kind of role play where something like really cool could happen. Like, you know, and if someone, say, named Sail, who is a little go-getter Bosmer that doesn't wait for her alphabetical turn, lunges at the wizard, and then because she went out of turn, the DM can do whatever the hell they want and freezes her in the air with a telekinetic thing and throws her backwards. And then the DM out of character says, "You should probably wait your turn."
Yes, that was fantastic.
But that was just a lot of fun.
Zapped
and then,
her out of midair. That was
and she lunged. She was like I even think I remember at the time she was like Laura from Logan with her little claws out and just lunging through the air like a rocket, like you know. That's the exact image I had from her. That's exactly what you made it sound like. And but when it comes to that stuff too, with that style of it, you can really get creative both as the player and as the DM, and especially it's really important even as the DM, because if you've got people rolling stuff and say they rolled low, you don't want it. It doesn't necessarily mean that like their spell fizzled, you know. So if you have 3 people roll low and they all cast a spell, you don't want to say just like, and your 3 spells fizzled because I guess you just suck, you know, basically is what you're telling them. Even though the characters probably are well, if you're in a combat thing like that, your characters are likely well past the point where any spell would actually fizzle. I mean, very few people put their characters at that early of a stage where that's even a possibility. So you shouldn't do that as a DM because it's a little insulting, really. So what you can do instead is, even though they fire off their fireballs, you can have it deflected. You can have it maybe, you know, somebody else's fireball that rolled high hits them and spins the bad guy so that theirs, you know, goes wide or that they duck under it. And if you have several people fail, like, say, we'll use Sail again here, she lunged while it was her turn this time, which I think something like this happened. I don't think it was her. I think it was Quintus. Oh no, he teleported behind the guy, and the guy was ready for him and blasted him in the chest with lightning because he was prepared for it because he was a Telvanni wizard. For ESO, that's the wizarding guys, if you're not familiar with Elder Scrolls, which most people probably role-playing have. If you haven't played ESO, you've probably played Elder Scrolls of some kind. most of us nerds have. They're good games. But, you know, so with the Sail, if she's jumping and she rolls low and somebody else rolled low, you could have it easily that they, you know, use that same telekinetic or even manage to grab them and twist them around and then throw them into another person, which gives you 2 failures out of your way, but not on behalf of their spell fizzling or they forgot which end was the pointy end of their knives when they're assassins or something, or like well-trained soldiers of 50 years. That stuff just doesn't happen, but you can do other things in order to make it exciting for them, give them a reason to be hurt where it's not an insult, you know. And it's just exciting to read, actually, you know, just like reading any book. You're interacting and basically creating that with role play, and there's better ways to do and get people out of, you know, bad rolls so that they can still fail, or rather that the other bad guy is just succeeding that much better than they are, at least in that particular moment of time.
Right.
You know, it's just one of those best. That's just, for me personally, that's the best way to do when you're doing combat role play in a storytelling setting, because you should be there to give everybody else the chance to shine, not you. You're not there to show everybody how great of a dungeon master you are and how much your made up characters and NPCs can kick their ass, but it's supposed to be the other way around.
And that's a good way to drive people, because you do that too many times and people are going to be like, yeah, I just don't.
Yeah.
I don't want to be somebody's pawn in their oh, look at me story.
Yeah, you don't want to, nobody wants to be somebody else's bitch constantly.
Yeah,
I said it.
Yeah, well, I said it the way everyone was thinking of it. Don't be someone's bitch. But yeah, and it can get frustrating. But if you keep it interesting and you can, and it just depends. Even if you do it constantly, you just kind of got to go with the creative flow of how things are going at that moment. And keeps it just keeps things interesting and keeps people wanting to come back to see what happened or what's going to happen next and things like that. But that leads a lot more into what we'll be doing in our next episode, which will be doing this, like I said, the storytelling elements of roleplay for an event, which typically those stay more towards guild style things than say like these were, where you could actually have outsiders and just community people in general come in. Because doing large scale story roleplay with one person and you've got dozens upon dozens of people, even with help, that's a tough thing to coordinate. I don't think I've ever seen that actually done. Have you, Jazz, on that kind of a scale?
Not really.
Yeah.
Most of the DM stuff that I've been a part of were from fairly small groups. I think if you get into really big groups, it becomes more and more necessary for the DM to do more and more and more.
Mm-hmm.
And it can be unfun for people at that point, I think. But then again, it gets really hard. The moment you get into larger groups, you're looking at a lot more waiting.
It's an exponential growth, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Really, you want to keep it, in my opinion, between 8 to 10 people is really as big as you should be for those events.
Yeah.
So that everybody has fun, including the DM.
Right. So that they're not running ragged, because on a lot of that stuff you can't have, like we had talked earlier, you get help from your guildies. You can't coordinate how a story is working like that, unless, of course, the only other way is if you got multiple people playing bad guys and you've got people broke off into clusters. You can do that, but even that still, you're not really doing a massive scale. You've basically just broken off into the exact same sort of groups that we're talking about if you were there by yourself. Yeah, it's just a split version of that. And typically there's not a lot of roleplay, even on the servants, who actually, they can get quite a few people to come like to the ordinator training. I don't think I've ever seen probably more than a dozen people. Very rarely it doesn't even reach that high, and a few times maybe a couple more, because acolytes, or the temple people, the acolytes and priests and priestesses, that's the word I'm thinking of, would come and so give magical support and stuff like that. But even that's pretty rare, because that's a lot of people all on at the same time, and typically things just don't line up like that. And so that's kind of the way all the different versions of combat can be done. And of course, last but not least, is, as we talked about with taverns, would be advertising and promoting. Same. It basically works the exact same way as taverns. If it's a guild thing, obviously you're going to use your guild forums, your guild MOTD, Discord, which I almost forgot about again. It's always a really, really good one. And I don't know why I keep doing it, as we're actually right now using Discord to do the show. So it's just probably the best way to do it. It's just same exact thing. You can do the shout outs if it's an open thing into the zone. Again, look out for trolls. But that's pretty much, when it comes to any roleplay event, that's basically how the promotion thing stays the same pretty much throughout all of it, no matter what kind of event you're doing. And I think that hopefully, if long as this didn't record shittily again, should about wrap it up. hopefully.
Crosses our fingers.
Yeah,
Yes,
I should have.
cross fingers.
I don't know why I didn't think to have us do a test run before I ran this, like a smart, intelligent, and thoughtful person would have done. I, however, have never been accused of being any of those things.
We'll do cut 3.
All
Right?
right. Oh, God, I hope not. If that's the case, I'm gonna.
We probably may have
Do
to
a
just
third
do the whole
one.
show all over again. Yeah.
So.
Okay, can I add that
yeah.
I just did a duel? I don't duel. I am not a dueling
you
person.
did, right before the
I
show.
do not do that. I never accept, duel invites. I don't like it. Well, Volley, my tank in ESO, got invited to duel. It was a Dragon Knight, and that's what she is. And we sat there and went round and round and round and round and round and round. And finally, the guy just forfeited. And I was like, that counts as a win for me.
As far as she's concerned, it's a win.
I was
Awesome.
so shocked because first he started to take me down, and then I was like, okay, use your skills. You know how to play this character. So I started using my
She
skills.
panics
and
very, very quickly when she's
yeah, I
dueling.
do. So, but no, I was really proud of myself because he threw in the tail and ran off, and I was like,
Yeah, that's the
I
funny thing is,
win.
I would call that the victory because if he realized that nothing was gonna, you guys were both too much life, too much defense, and all that, and it was just never gonna end. That's one thing, and he would have been like, yeah, this is clearly not going anywhere. No, he quit and then ran off.
Yeah.
That's a win. I'm gonna go with you. I'm gonna side with you.
He was going to lose, honestly. I think he thought that he would win.
Like most people that randomly challenge you to a duel in ESO,
Yeah.
that's the only reason they randomly challenge you to a duel is they think they can beat you.
Well, I get a lot of random challenges, but I just never take them up. But I was like waiting on one of the guildmates to do something, and just happened to get challenged, and I was like, okay, I'll probably get my butt kicked, and I'll be done real quick. But it just kept going on and on, and I was like, wow, I'm holding my own. Go Sib.
That's awesome.
My little baby's all grown up. Find other people. I'm so proud right now.
Oh, I just was really proud of that moment, so I had to share it.
Yes. Yeah, well, it fits. It fits.
Yeah.
It definitely
if-
fits in with what we're talking about.
Yesterday, I wouldn't have had that
You
story
wouldn't
to
have had
share.
that amazing story.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, does anybody else, you got any final words, thoughts, Jazz? What are
No,
your
I think-
final thoughts?
I think that it's just important to, as a DM or when you're organizing an event, give everybody plenty of time and explain everything well. Because I think the hardest thing for a lot of people, particularly if they're new to RP or they're new to RP events, get impatient and they don't ever want to do it again. So it's important to take the time to explain this is what's going to happen. This is how we're going to do it. Xanis is great about that. Or sorry, Ashen.
It's okay.
He's great about that. He always takes time to explain how we're going to do stuff. So, and like when my character
front,
was out
yeah.
of line, was because I probably wasn't even listening when he was doing it. So,
Well, and at that time too, it was you guys. We as a group had never done it specifically that way, so it was understandable. But it was just too great of an opportunity not to toss her little ass right back in the fireplace.
that was fantastic, though.
But yeah, and that actually that's a good point that we should probably bring up is always make sure before you start your fight to definitely go over the rules and what your expectations are. If it's freeform, probably, and you guys, even that's an agreement that, okay, well, we'll just freeform it, even that is at least the bare minimum you should have. But if you are going into the fight, make sure you guys both agree that, it's 3 hits, which way you're going to do it, if you're going to do it with the attack defend or just, high, low, wins back and forth. Whoever gets the most, first 3 hits wins.
Yeah,
get that stuff
explain.
out of the way beforehand, so that
I definitely think that's important.
Because that nothing frustrates people more than they think they know what's going on, and you have decided on something different, but haven't bothered to explain it to anybody but yourself, which is not the way to do anything, really. So yeah, that's definitely a good point. I'm glad you brought that up.
That's the only thing I can
put out there. Cool. Well,
onward and upward.
Yep, that sounds good to me. Hopefully this will conclude episode 16. So 2 men enter. We do appreciate anybody that listens to the podcast. We apologize to all the people that were listening live on Saturday night and then couldn't listen to the rest of it. And it's just the way it goes. 16 episodes in, it's the first time it's happened. So if you would like to contact us, you can always email us at rpmmoradio@gmail.com with any stories, interesting tales you have about your roleplay. We would probably read it on the air because the more interaction we have with our listeners, the better our show is overall. If you're listening to it on the podcast and you would like to listen to it live, you can do that every 2 weeks at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time at twitch.tv/rpmmoradio. If you want to join our Discord, you can actually do that at rpmmoradio.com/discord, and it will take you directly to the page to join our Discord channel. Through that, I recently did that because it seemed to make a lot more sense. And of course at Twitter at rpmmoradio.com, and if you have Instagram, you can watch me make stupid memes about MMOs and role-playing in general on pictures I find on the internet. They're not really good, but I think they're funny, and my mom likes them. I'm kidding, my mom doesn't use anything on the internet. So, I appreciate everybody tuning in. Ashen Phoenix and, of course, Sib and Jazz are with me as well.
Bye.
Just
Later.
what we'll have you do, too, is tune in next time when we discuss why using halflings as melee weapons is not only a mercy, but should be law. Next time on RPMMO Radio. Have a good night, everybody.
The thoughts and opinions expressed by RPMMO Radio are just that, and should not be taken as the gospel truth, but pretty close to it. Music provided by Husky by the Geek. Visit him at youtube.com/HuskyByTheGeek to hear all his great rock covers.